James from the Canadian Urban Garden, and today we're going to make a raised bed. When I bought this place in 2017, the whole front yard was covered in red mulch, and it was nasty. You'll see, there's a photo. And so I raked away all the mulch, and I bought some shade perennials, because in the front yards of all of these yards in Montreal, there's mature trees, and so often you can only grow shade perennials. And so I bought them and I planted them, and they almost all died. And so I came in and started to dig it up to see what it was like, and the whole thing was covered in these roots like that. So when your soil quality is terrible, instead of digging down, what you can do sometimes is just go up and make a raised bed, and that's what we're going to do today. In Montreal front yards, there's often mature trees like this one. And so our raised beds today that we build are mostly going to be ornamentals and perennials, because it's hard to grow vegetables or fruits or anything edible in the shade. But on this side, the small build that we'll do for the sake of this video, it does get a few hours of morning sun, and that's because right behind you there, that tree, there was a mature tree there until last fall, when it was sick or something, so they cut it down, and you can see there's a huge pile of mulch there, right? And last winter I came home while they were clearing the snow, and in Montreal they have these little track machines that snow plow the sidewalks, and they go super fast. Well, I came home and it had hit that pile of mulch thinking it was a pile of snow, and flipped over onto its side into the street. And I went inside and I grabbed my phone, and I was gonna take a video for the purposes of cutting in right now on this video, but there were too many city workers there and I didn't want to look like an asshole, so I didn't. Anyway, the good news is that I'm able to grow some vegetables here in the front yard, even though it's still a pretty shady spot, and we'll do another video about growing which vegetables you can grow in partial shade. But let's get started. When you build a raised bed, there's really three things that matter. One, well, there could be four, right? One, you want it to look good, or else you wouldn't spend money on it. But structurally, what you want is that it's level, that it's square, and that it's solid. So first, let's look at the level. You can see that the front yard of my house is sloped. So if you just take a board and put a level on top, you'll see that the back end is much higher than the front. So I'll have to cut in to the back and just bring some of that dirt into the front in order to be able to start the bed. So as you can see, we got it roughly level now. At the moment it doesn't really matter, because we're going to put it together first, but we got it roughly leveled out. You can see we already built the other one, so we're going to match up to make sure that it's the same distance from the sidewalk, and then we'll level it out, make it the same height, and square it up all at the same time. But first we're going to put it together. The wood that I'm using for this is hemlock. You'll see that I have some cedar stakes, but I decided to make this raised bed out of hemlock for a couple of reasons. One, hemlock is cheaper than cedar. Like cedar, the second reason is that it's naturally resistant to rotting. So if you're going to build raised beds outside and you're going to grow edibles in it, there's a debate over whether or not you should use pressure treated wood. So I decided not to. I didn't do enough research to say definitively one way or the other whether it can hurt you vegetables or not. But I decided to play it safe and go with hemlock. I got this wood from a garden center in Montreal called Urban Seedling. It's an amazing place. You'll see some of their seedlings and fruit and stuff like that through the course of this season. So anyway, we're going to put it together. The front side of the raised bed is 4 feet wide, and the sides are going to be 5 feet deep. So we'll just take some screws and put 2 screws in each corner, and then I'll show you how to square it up and how to brace it. So because we've got 2 beds, right? One on that side and one on this side, we want them to be the same distance from the sidewalk. So I just measured it out. So in order to put this one in the right place, of course we're working outside, so it's not like that precise. So we're pretty close. We're about 2 feet away from the edge, and then you want to make sure that it's straight, right? That both sides are the same distance from the sidewalk. So you have to clear out a bit of the edge, find a spot that you're going to use to square up to. I think I'll use the edge of the lip and go from there. So we have the bed fairly level and situated in the middle and lined up with the other one. And now we're going to try to make it square. So in order to do that, you could get a big carpenter's square. I don't have one of those, so we're going to use a bit of math. If you remember from grade 7 or grade 8, Pythagoras' theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, there's a practical application to it in landscaping and in some construction that's like rough like this. It's not that precise. So what you do is you measure 3 feet on one side. We're going to measure 3 feet on this side. And this side is 4 feet, as you can see. Right? 4 feet. So 3 squared is 9, and 4 squared is 16, and 9 plus 16 equals 25. So the square root of 25 is 5. So it should be 5 feet across for it to be square. And we're pretty close. If you could just move it a little bit that way, then we'll be squared up. Now that we've got it level and square, we want to make it solid. Because of its size, you could probably leave it as is, but what I'm going to do is pound in one of these cedar stakes that I have into each of the corners and then screw to these just to reinforce it a bit. Here we go. So I'll just repeat that for each of the corners. There it is. It's square, it's level, and it's solid. And we're going to fill it with the dirt that's in these bags. This, because the raised bed is only 8 inches high, you want to fill it with really high quality soil so you don't have the same problem that I had here before. So the soil that I bought that's in those bags, I got a couple yards from the same place where I got the wood. It's called Urban Seedling. and they use a mix of 1/3 compost, 1/3 coconut coir or peat moss, and that helps retain moisture, and 1/3 garden soil. And you put that in there and anything should grow in there. In a future video, I'll even show you how to make that, make a container or raised bed gardening mix out of those 3 ingredients. But before we put the soil in, we're going to put some cardboard down to stop any of the weeds from coming up. You can see there's a couple perennial lily of the valley poking through there, and really not much grows here, so I don't have to worry about it that much. But I'm just going to lay down some cardboard. Some people use landscaping fabric. You can do that too, but cardboard will smother out any of the weeds from coming up, and then it'll decompose, and you'll have, it'll go right down into the soil. So I'm just going to use these boxes, cut them up, and put them in. So there you have it. We're gonna put some soil in. If you have a big long raised bed and your soil, you're gonna use wheelbarrows to get it in there, you're probably gonna want to leave one side off so you can wheel right in and then dump and wheel back out, and then just screw the side on at the end when you're done. But like I said, Urban Seedling was nice enough to drop it off in bags, so when it rained shortly after they delivered it, I didn't have to worry about cleaning it up. So I just want to show you the difference between good soil like that, that's full of organic matter and has this coconut coir in it to retain moisture, and then the soil that I'll just take out the leaves. I had left them there because I wanted to add, but you can just see the difference, right? This is just clay or silt, and look at how much life there is already in that, and it's going to be perfect for growing. So I'm just going to fill up this bed. Because we have just the 8 inches of bed here, I want to fill this bed right to the top with the soil, even though it's the best, right? It's excellent soil. And then every year, it'll compact itself a little bit. And what you do is just add compost on top of it. Earthworm casings, compost you make yourself, chicken manure, that sort of thing. You just add it on top. You don't have to add peat moss, you don't have to add any soil or anything, just compost. And there it is, raised bed. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. In our next video, we'll be planting in this raised bed that we built today some shade tolerant vegetables. Thank you.